Ladies and gentlemen, the long-awaited, highly anticipated, it's Friday with Terry Michler on the United States High School Champions League starting 11 or thereabouts. Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good, Kevin. Welcome to Friday.
Bum. Yeah. Well, I had a nice time so far, and here we are Friday to get a recap. I were you jonesing with no World Cup games?
I think you call that withdrawal. Yeah, I'm in withdrawal. No doubt about that.
Well, that's why I always found it beneficial with this high school champions league. It's an exciting moment every moment of the day, all day, and all around the country. It's not just in the neighborhood, but this is some good stuff. And man, how about that? It's hot. You could imagine trying to play indoors somewhere. Would that work out? You think?
Would it work out now that it's hot to play indoors?
Yeah.
I think it would. Sure.
Yeah, but to have soccer indoors.
Well, the World Cup had games indoors. They had temperature-controlled, climate-controlled stadiums with roofs on them. They had Houston, Atlanta, Vancouver, I think, Dallas. They were all controlled.
Wow. Okay. Well, here I am, and there you are. Let's go. Oh,
Ready to
about the sponsors. Yeah, Tim McAvoy with the virtuoso soccer ball in the world, the official ball of the High School Champions League, the select ball, and with our neighbors, with Ziggy Nagel at Nagel College Planning, and our man Eddie O from Coolidge.com, G-O-L-L, Q, that's what I meant to say, QOOLLEGE.com. That our platform, US United States High School Champions League, US HSCL.com. You'll find this broadcast when it's uploaded on it at Wales Certified, because I so happen to be a national sponsor.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have the good sponsorship, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
As Jim Hart keeps growing the program, Tim McAvoy is the ball supplier, and Select's done a great job of keeping a good supply of balls available for all of the games. And Siggy's doing a wonderful job of generosity of providing opportunity for families to take advantage of his program. And the website is up and running, and it's really makes what we're doing distinguishable from a lot of other organizations and kind of puts us out in front. So, yeah, we're very fortunate there.
Yeah, mention us and you get a cash discount. Okay, man, go ahead.
All right, so a couple things. Number one, I want to shout out to Jim Hart. Yesterday he was on, and he had nine topics, 7 of which were basically new entries or close to new entries into the Champions League, and a couple of them were a couple of potential future interviews for Kevin of people of high level experience in the game. So Jim's our guy. Jim makes it happen. He's like a one-man wrecking crew. He makes it happen nonstop, and we're really fortunate to be having him in our group there. Second shout out goes to Rob Stagenborg, former CBC employee. He worked in communications and public relations. And Rob asked me at the beginning of the World Cup if I'd be interested in joining him in a podcast called Extra Time with Terry Michler, where we would review the World Cup games each day. We did that every day of the World Cup for 30 to 40 minutes. I gave my synopsis of what I thought I saw during the game and stuff. So shout out to Rob for that. Uh, my 5 points today are going to revolve around a review of Monday's starting 11 with Kevin and David Ehrenberg. And my second main point is going to revolve around the World Cup final game and the takeaways that happened after the game. So let me get right into it. Now, point number one, on Monday, Kevin made a point that I really value. Kevin has a background in show business. He's a stagehand for his whole career. So he knows what stage life is like. And he mentioned an analogy of Broadway, being on Broadway and off Broadway, and the difference between the. And I took that to be like similar to what we deal with in soccer in terms of level of player in soccer. Kevin said if you took an off Broadway production and put it on Broadway, it would not be received very well because it wouldn't be up to the standard that on Broadway would expect. And I thought, oh boy, that's really powerful. And he said that the off Broadway would get a very strong no, you're not good enough. And I think that's something that we need to seriously consider in our development programs. No doesn't mean no, you can't play. No means you're not at this level to play. And then the levels players should be at the level that they can play. And that's the best way for them to get enjoyment out of playing. If you're not up to the level of play, you really don't feel like you're contributing anything, and the game is just going right by you. So I think that's really important, and it has to do with the standard. And I think standards are really important and absolutely necessary to produce quality. Second point, Dave Ehrenberg was talking about pay to play and a lot of different ramifications involved with that. He talked about the fragmentation of pay to play and of youth soccer in general. There's 5 or 6 different organizations that all claim to be the answer for developing the players in the best way. So the question is, what is the best way? You know, with so many different diversions and options, all we do is, as Dave said, you fragment the quality. If you have that many organizations, you got quality in each of them, but you don't have the most quality possible because it's all split up. So if you have a group of 16 kids and you have 8 kids of highest level quality and 8 kids of average to below average, those 8 high level kids are going to be they're going to suffer because they're not going to get the competition that they need. So if you change that and you have if you replace the 8 lower to average kids with 8 more high kids, now you got 16 kids of equal high level quality competing every day for whatever spots you want to consider. So the competition would be a lot better, and I think the improvement would be better. I know in Holland, their operating premise is we want to identify the best, we want the best to play with the best, and we want the best to play against the best. And that's our way of developing the best to the best way possible. With and against the best. And it seems to work pretty well. I would suggest this. Pay to play, in my opinion, is not going anywhere. It's too well established, and it's just part of our soccer culture. But what we could do is work within that and try to come up with a better in-house system or arrangement. And I think in the pay to play, we have all different levels of players. I would suggest that we try to consider 4 levels and group kids accordingly. And the 4 levels for me would be, number 1 would be recreation level. Those that want to play but aren't real serious and dedicated and ambitious towards it, but they like to play. Second would be local, players that play in local leagues and local tournaments. Third would be travel, and this would be the one where the expenses would be significantly increased. And then the 4th level would be professional pathway. that small percent of players that think that they might want to play and continue to play at the highest level possible and might have the ability to do it. So you got to have ability and ambition. Those are the two things for sure. It's the starting point. But not everybody has that, so we don't need everybody under the same umbrella, right? So that's what I would suggest. The second point I would make along the same line is listening to a podcast the other day from Eric Winalda, and he mentioned and brought back up into vogue the idea of ODP, Olympic Development Program. That used to be the way that the pipeline that players went through. So we would have the school program and the school combined with the club. So we have school plus club. And then when you have ODP competition to start to filter out the best in our local area, then it would go to a state level, then a regional, and then a national. So ODP would go local, state, regional, national. And from that, you filter out, best with and against the best. That would seem like a good program. And then from that, after the ODP, then you would have an academy level. So you'd have school and club, ODP, and academy. I think I like that idea. I think it might have some value to consider. My third point, I talked previously about Spain having their 4 Ps upon which they function: possession, positioning, pressing, and perception. 4 Ps: possession, keep the ball, which they do. Positioning is how you position on the field and how you position around the ball. Are you providing options? Pressing is try to put on a controlled pressure and win the ball back quickly after losing it. And perception is scanning. It's a combination of awareness and response. What do you see and how do you respond to what you see? I would suggest a 5th P, and that would be penetration. Because penetration is when you move the ball forward. Possession doesn't necessarily mean that you move the ball forward. Penetration does. Penetration is when you break lines with passes. You get into the box, you get behind the back line. That's where Yamal Lamine came into play for Spain. That was one of his functions, was to seek penetration. Now, I'm going to make another point here. A lot of our U.S. players are willing to get all kinds of personal training. And they go to club training, they go to personal training. Parents are willing to put out money to enhance their child's ability to play. And it's kind of like, I'll give you an analogy here. Let's go to trades, in the trade world. Let's say you're going to trade school and they said, okay, well, first thing you need to do, you need to get a toolbox. And then secondly, in the toolbox, you got to put all the tools you're going to need. And, some of the people that could afford it would get the highest price, best quality tools. And they'd load that toolbox up with them. Then they go to class and the teachers would teach them how to use the tools. So they know how to use each tool individually. Then they turn them loose to the job. They show up on the job and they got a job to do. And the foreman says, okay, go ahead and fix this situation right here. And the guy said, well, I got all my tools here. And the guy said, well, go ahead and fix it. And the guy would say, well, all I know is how to use my tools. I don't know how to use them, and I don't know when to use them. I don't know when to use the tools. I know how to use them, but I don't know when to use them. And I think that corresponds with soccer a lot in terms of getting training that's removed from the game. The more training you can get in relation to the game, then you know the when. So the how is what you're doing, and the when is when to do it. A lot of these kids that look brilliant in what they're doing, but they don't know when to do it. And that's the difference, huge difference. Because soccer is a game of moments, and you always got to take advantage of the moment in the right way at the right time. That's the when. My 4th point deals with Argentina, in particular their post-game behaviors, which were atrocious, disrespectful, disgusting. Immediately after the game, they start provoking the Spanish players, and punches were thrown, and players were knocked down, and coaches were involved. It was a mess. It was totally embarrassing. And then in addition to that, when Spain was getting their trophy presentation, the Argentine players had their backs turned to Spain. They wouldn't pay any attention to it, wouldn't give them the honor and the respect that they deserved. Then the final straw was after the game, there's a post-game conference where all the news people, the reporters and whatnot, are able to ask questions of the coaching staff and the players. No one from Argentina showed up for that, and at no point did anybody from Argentina alert these reporters that nobody was going to show up. So these people were in there waiting for an extended period of time, and nobody showed up. That needs to be punished. All of that is really it's apprehensive, it's irresponsible, and should not be allowed in the game, especially in the highest level of the performance of the game in the World Cup final. That's a shame. Contrast to that, point number 5 is Spain. Spain won the game with class, style, and dignity. They carried themselves in a proper way. They were provoked, but they didn't respond. They stayed in their concept of play. They kept playing to their goals. And after the game, the players said, "We feel a responsibility to be an example for the young kids to show them how to respond in the performance of the game and the behavior after the game. Win or lose, we should always be the same in terms of showing respect and dignity and honoring our." And Spain's on a 38-game unbeaten streak, so they had a lot on the line there to keep that going. They only gave up 1 goal in the 8 games they played in the tournament, and maintained 7 shutouts. It's an incredible record. And it's not so much that their defense was so outstanding; it's just that the whole team managed to keep the ball away from the opponents to where they had minimal opportunities to use the ball. And in the final game against Argentina, Argentina registered 2 shots in the game after minute 117, and neither of those 2 shots were on goal. So Spain had 20 shots, 12 of which were on goal, and 1 of which scored. So just a master class by Spain in terms of how to conduct the game and the post game. So in essence, the star of Spain was the team. The team was the star. Even though they had individual players of brilliance, the team was the star. I think that's it, Kevin. 5 points.
I mean, I'm jaw dropping, man. That was wonderful, bro. Way to go.
Thank you.
Are you ready? Because we're going to wrap it up. I'm kind of like, it's been so good. I want to close it up to be able to put it in the can and go and get it and to have it so I wouldn't mess anything up.
All right.
Okay, so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's been the United States High School Champions League starting 11 or thereabouts with Terry Michler and Kevin Whalen. So long, Terry.